right. Good evening, everyone. Those who don't know, I'm Amethyst. Everybody here knows. Anybody out there in Zoom? Um, Tonight is the first installment of our Hearth, Kitchen, and Green Witchcraft presentation. Each installment will focus on one of these three practices. It was supposed to be originally in May, which is a lot closer to Earth Day and month, but better late than never.
Absolutely.
Um, I planned tonight to be both a presentation and an interactive discussion, Q&A afterwards. So, and we'll also be creating a garden spell bag at the end. So please be patient. Let me make the presentation and wait for me to invite your questions and comments. However, for all of those out in Zoom land and anybody here, if questions or comments come up during the presentation, write them down into the chat box or on a piece of paper here, and those will be the comments and questions we'll get to first, and then go from there. This will help keep things flowing smoothly and keep me from getting confused and lost, which is really big. Slide number 2, please. But first, let's review what witchcraft is. Making magic, right? So what is magic? Magic is the conscious and directed attempt to effect change by combining and directing energy or energies towards a hopefully positive goal. In essence, witchcraft is the art of purely focusing your will to direct the energy or energies to help create a change or transition. And this applies to all forms of witchcraft. Next slide, please. The Green Witch focuses on nature-based practices following the path of the naturalist, the herbalist, and the healer. They are focused on learning and practicing ways to heal and sustain the earth. They are always looking for ways and opportunities to commune with and show appreciation to Mother Earth. Their magic is often made in the garden or with things from or representing the garden. They are usually eco-conscious and follow the reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle philosophy. And we'll discuss some of the ways to incorporate the 3 R's into our daily routine when we get to the discussion. Next slide. Historically, a green witch has been perceived as living a solitary life. But in these modern times, they live in cities and suburbs, large and small. Far from having a solitary life, they are well entrenched in community and society. They define themselves as green witches by their ethics and affinity with the natural world and always strive to have a better relationship with the world in general. Next slide. Oh no, not next slide, I'm sorry. See, I get lost easily. The Green Witch is someone who lives the green path, which means they are aware of how the energy of nature flows through their lives and their environment, even if that environment is not the traditional garden or forest. All you really need to practice is representation of green space. Living the green path is not a practice that is separate from your ordinary life, like, say, ritual magic is. It is an individual lifestyle, free form and flexible, that is defined by each individual based on their own experiences, their beliefs, geographies, abilities, likes, dislikes, and many other things. It's an all-encompassing, total immersion experience wherein all of life is a magical experience. The Green Witch works closely with nature and its gifts. They use trees, flowers, herbs, stones, woods, and natural elements of all kinds to improve the well-being of their physical body, the spirit, and the environment. And they work to establish a personal connection with the natural world. And they do it, surprisingly enough, without eliminating technology. They they don't have to live a secluded life in the forest. The secret is to find harmony, to discover how to connect this modern life with our innate knowledge of nature. You do this by first listening to and observing the world around you. Now the next slide. Healing, harmony, and balance are keys for the green witch. The earth is often thought to be the green witch's main focus, but it's only one of three. Those being the earth, humanity, and self. However, if you were to lump all of these together, you risk losing the emphasis that each focus really deserves. The green witch understands that the earth incorporates the planet and all things upon it and in it. This includes plants, animals, minerals, and people. It's meant to be a collective term for all things upon and within the earth, living and inert. After all, even the inert have vibration, energy, and usefulness, all desired attributes for creating magic. Many religions promote the idea that humanity, mankind, is the steward or custodian of the planet. But the Green Witch understands that we are much more. The Green Witch knows we are a manifestation of the earth itself, not merely its caretaker. Our Green Witch honors nature as sacred and blessed and sees the divine in all of nature. Humanity is people collectively as well as individually. And we all know that people affect other people with their energy. The Green Witch knows the impact humanity has on the natural world, not only by how we treat it, but also by the energy created by our actions, our feelings, and our beliefs. Just as nature has effects on us, so does our energy affect nature, both positively and negatively. So a green which strives to balance and maintain harmony between humanity and nature for both their personal being and their personal space, so that the environment is energetically welcoming and harmonious, and that those that enter within their space feel relaxed, calm, and open-minded. How can we do this, you may ask? Well, it starts with self, finding your actual self, not the self you think you are or the self you would like to be, but the whole you, the public self and the shadow self. Finding one's shadow self can be difficult, but oh so rewarding. After all, we lie to ourselves all the time, sometimes to the point we become deaf, blind, and clueless to certain aspects of our own personality. But by recognizing, acknowledging, and accepting our shadow selves, we can maintain harmony between our darker aspects and our positive aspects, which brings balance to our personal energy. Remember, the devastation of the storm does not negate the beauty of the rainbow, nor does the beauty of the rainbow negate the devastation of the storm. They balance each other out. There's so much to learn about shadow self and shadow work that somebody ought to do something, a presentation just on that, but that won't be me tonight. We'll leave that for another time. Just as an aside, I remember the first time that somebody ever told me that I was an opinionated bitch. Oh, I was ready to argue that point. I was ready to argue that point. You know, and I thought, not me. But I've done a little bit of self shadow work, and yeah, that opinionated bitch is in there. So I know that. I recognize it. We all have opinions. It's not so much that you have an opinion. It's how you present it. And if you have an opinion, especially if you don't have facts and familiarity, true knowledge to support your opinion, then you should present your opinion as just that, in my humble opinion. But more importantly, you should also allow the next person to express their opinion and respect their opinion as much as you would want them to respect yours. So that's just a sample of how shadow work can bring a little equilibrium to ourselves. All right, it's time to get interactive. So let's discuss ways to interact with our natural environment as it is in the here and now. Because remember, energy is in a constant state of change. What was yesterday is not today and certainly will not be tomorrow. So you have to learn to work in the present and be in the present. Is there anybody here or online that considers himself a green witch or practices green or garden or hedge witchcraft?
Well, online we have Anne who actually says, I've worked with my shadow self and for many years I would love to do a shadow work presentation.
You're on. No. That sounds wonderful.
I'll keep that in mind.
Okay. I think
Leah says me with an exclamation point.
Well, would Leah care to share how she interacts with nature?
Yeah, go ahead, unmute yourself.
I'm going to leave that for the 7th because we'll be doing some practice.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Kimberly is a green witch too.
Okay. So,
Kimberly.
Again, I invite to share with us how she interacts.
Hi there. Yes, well, I'm out gathering mangoes now, and hopefully I can bring some tomorrow. And anyway, I just my backyard is my sanctuary, and I love just being in any form of nature with looking at the sky, looking at the looking at the world around me, and then also just trying to take some measures for protection of our environment. I'm not doing nearly as much as I'd like, but I try to take some action by groups that I'm in a part of or communications with those in positions such as legislatures that can have decision-making capacities about our our water, our natural resources, our earth, public spaces, public land. So anyway, that's the short version. I just try to acknowledge and treasure every day with what I do, and try to use my witchy blessings for good with the earth and with what's around me. Thanks.
That's great. That's pretty much the definition of a green witch. But
she's in some veggies and herbs and mostly flowers.
Terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I said, we need more people to be more active for advocating for change in our environment, for the positive.
That's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Yeah. But and as Kimmy said, she observed. As I mentioned earlier, the first way you do this is by observing, and by observing with all of your senses. I think this should be the next slide.
Good transition.
You know, all of your senses. That includes vision, hearing, touch, taste, smell, and extrasensory perception, your sixth sense. And it's a good thing to occasionally, or even more occasionally, assess and reassess your environment by observing, getting out there and communing with nature. And once you reassess your environment, then you'll have a better understanding of what is available to you at that point in time, and more importantly, what you need to contribute for each time. The next slide, please. And that's because the green witch doesn't take, she exchanges. She knows you cannot take, even if given permission to do so, or as a gift. Without giving, you cannot take, even accept a gift without giving something in return to fill the void, even if it's just a sincere thank you. But you always must give to receive. It's
an extremely important principle of tree magic.
Yes. Well, also you should be, if you're working with any of the natural environment, trees, plants, stones, you should be asking permission from those items before you go ahead and take. And then once you receive the permission, or, you know, or move on to another, but once you have permission to take, keep in mind you have to give something back.
It also works with some of the Afro-Caribbean, in which they're not natural, but there's a sense of give to receive. So you want some graveyard dirt, you'd actually go to the person who's buried there, and like you already have to give them the gold coins, and then knock and ask permission in that particular sense too.
Right. I mean, you can exchange an item for item, or like I said, even just a sincere thank you will suffice. Next slide, please. Green witch works with all of nature. They have an understanding of the four natural elements, their associations and energies, and work with them accordingly. If you're familiar with Wicca, you will notice that there are many similarities. However, the Wiccan path tends to be more ritualistic and planned. The green path is much more spontaneous and down to earth. They don't require a whole lot of ritual. You can be in the garden and say, okay.
That is a ritual.
That's it. Right. And so those elements, number one is earth. That's for grounding and abundance. It is a receptive and a passive energy to a point. I mean, after all, we know that Mother Earth can rumble. she can get real upset and spew lava. But as a rule, Earth is a passive and receptive energy, and its correspondence is to the north. Air is for communication and intellect. It is a projective and active energy, and its correspondence is to the east. Fire represents passion and creativity. It too is projective and active, and its correspondence is in the south. Water is for emotion and sensitivity. Its reception, again, its energy is receptive and passive, and again, to a point. I mean, tsunamis aren't not real powerful.
No.
So we know that Mother Nature, if she gets upset, that passive goes by the wayside. And of course, water's correspondence is to the west. Next slide, please. The same is true with the seasons and the phases of the moon and the stars and the zodiac. Periodically reassessing your environment makes a lot of sense. And you can make that a seasonal ritual or habit because each season has its own energy dynamic, as do the phases of the moon and the tides. Spring is the vernal equinox, and the Green Witch, unlike Wiccan tradition, tends to think of spring as the start of the wheel of the year, because it's associated with birth and new beginnings. So for the Green Witch, it makes sense to them that that's the beginning of the wheel. Summer is the solstice, and it's considered midsummer. And this is the moment when the sun is at its highest and is associated with expansion and great energy. Letha is the Sabbath. Thank you. That we celebrate the summer solstice with. And Ostara is the Sabbath that we celebrate the spring ritual. And the autumn equinox is associated with the harvest and a time of thanksgiving for the bounty of the earth. Also incorporates themes of sacrifice, loss, and preparation for the winter. And we celebrate that at Mabon. The winter solstice is associated with death, which is very necessary for the rebirth in spring. But it's also a time of introspection. And we celebrate that at Yule, or the Green Witch celebrates that at Yule. Does anybody have any comments or questions about?
With the give and take, my first wand was actually from a Florida crabapple tree, and I asked permission, of course, and when I took it, I took ash and sealed the ends to help heal.
On the remaining tree.
To help heal the sites where I pulled it from.
Excellent. That's a good way to honor the spirit of the tree and the gods and goddesses. The Green Witches don't usually have a lot of gods or goddesses. Gaia is pretty much the sole deity that the Green Witch celebrates, if she celebrates one at all. But we know there are lots of gods and goddesses out there, so it's always good to appease them.
He's a good idea.
It's always good to be appeasing.
You never know.
Well, I was just gonna say, like in our yard at the house of Dragons, Wolves, and Druids, we're making an effort to convert the front yard into a more native place. And it's going to be so exciting to watch when all the wildflowers start blooming, to see the different cycle of the season, because of course in Florida it's a very different kind of cycle than you might have in a more temperate climate, because we are essentially a tropical zone. Yeah. They say subtropical, but we're like right on the border. So it might as well be tropical on days like today.
Yeah. It sounds real tropical today.
We got one of the sun.
Oh,
it's out there.
And it's funny because here in Florida, you walk around the neighborhoods and you see everybody's gardens and whatnot. And there are very few gardens that I've seen that have actual natural native plants and trees. They try to bring in everything from all over the world and grow it here. And, it takes a special kind of plant to
survive a Florida summer.
Yes.
And it has to be able to survive our ecosystem too, because it's not like up north where you've got temperate climates and you've got snow halfway through the year. Here, and 90% hot and 1%
Yeah. A good example of that is up north, you get a reprieve from the mosquitoes and the fleas and
they
the
die
ticks.
eventually.
Down here, year round, you've got these pests year round. So, you know, yes, the rules are different in Florida.
And the lizards love to eat those exotic plants.
That's
don't
right.
waste your money.
Right.
But
It's like a little, little gourmet meal for the iguanas when you put out the hibiscus.
The hibiscus, they just go crazy for the hibiscus, which are not natural here, but they're still beautiful.
Neither are the iguanas.
Gotta take care of the problem.
That's true.
Yeah.
Most of the front yard is now all Florida native.
Wonderful.
Little by little, I've pulled everything else out. So it's looking really good.
That's great.
we have on my mom's side, we have a mango tree that's growing, and they're about ready to bloom. I'm gonna bring them on here because
Yum.
they didn't grow last year, and we were just kind of like, okay, maybe it's an off year.
Yeah, trees have their off years, and it's funny because one of my clients, she's been bringing me mangoes every week. She said their tree is more productive this year than it's been in years, and I'm so happy.
So yeah, and they're not quite ready.
Mangoes
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Ours aren't quite ready yet. We don't really have a mango picker, so we're just waiting for them to fall. And the moment they fall, we're gonna run out to grab them for the most part.
Unfortunately, mangoes are not native, but they are delicious, and I'll make an exception for them.
I think
Exceptions to all of it.
Well, in the Florida Meal of the Year, Lissa is the correspondent to the mango.
Oh, well, yes, absolutely. That's June is when they start really dropping their fruit.
Yeah. Lissa is.
Yeah, ours might drop within like a week or two. It's really crazy.
All right, next slide, please. Okay, here we come to reduce, repurpose, recycle, repurpose or reuse. And not just plastics and paper or otherwise trash, but also the water, plants, animals, natural resources of any kind. There's lots of ways that we can incorporate this. Composting is one of them. We have a recycling program supposedly in Broward County. I'm really not too convinced. They in Hollywood, they had a bring your electronics and paint, special collection day for this stuff, and we went. We had some old paint and some old electronics. They told us that they take the paint and recycle it, and they get this paint and then they give it away once a year. They have 3 colors: blue, gray, and beige, I think.
Everything.
But they're supposed to take all of the old paint that people bring in and then, recycle it and give it away to the community, which was really nice. Now, we did have some cans that you shook it and it's like, is there really any paint in here? But there were other cans that were at least half full, and they threw them all in the dump.
Oh.
And the same thing with the electronics. We said here, and they go, take it over there.
That's so dangerous.
And I'm like, oh, this is not recycling. This is adding to the landfill. So like I said, I'm skeptical about our recycling, but I do it anyway. I got the bins. I do my part. If only the city would do their part, we'd be happy. But there's other ways. I mean, there's composting. And I used to think you needed a big bin and you had to do all of this stuff. I tried the worm factory. tried more. I spent a lot of money on more. And they all ran away from home.
They're out there.
They're out there. I didn't.
The legs and brain.
But a friend of ours said, heck with that, I just take my garbage and bury it.
There you go.
And that's what we've been doing. And for the first time, we're growing tomatoes that we never planted. We just buried the compost, the stuff, and we've had better success with composted tomatoes than we did buying plants, seeds, and starting from scratch because we're from the north.
You have to deal with the worms.
Now you know where they went.
Didn't really
But,
go away.
so it's really a lot easier, and we have a big enough property that I keep telling my husband. I noticed he was burying them all in the same spot. It's like, spread it out.
That's something I would do.
He was just buried in the one space that was really convenient. Like, no.
And you just have a big open hole and you put your garbage in there?
No. I dig a hole, put it in, bury it.
That's a lot of work.
Not as much work as the composting bin. Let me tell you, because you got to chop it. Otherwise, it gets really putrid very quickly. If you don't chop it up really fine, make sure you turn it.
Yeah.
Almost on a daily basis.
Keep it wet. I have one of those, and it was working great, and it gave me a lot of compost till it got really hot out, and I went to throw stuff in, and it was moving with palmetto. I'm like,
oh, no. No.
It'd be like, bye. You could get an old blender at the thrift store or something, and you can like give it a buzz with water, and then just spread it in your garden.
That's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah, but keep the blender outside. That's your outside blender.
Right. That's wonderful.
That's
easy.
Fill it with water, and then you can just spread it around. I do that with the coffee. Starbucks lets you keep their old coffee grounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they give away their old coffee grounds.
Yeah, we save the coffee grounds.
Eggshell.
Yeah.
You can grab like if you go to any Starbucks, you can just take it right off the shelf.
It's great. But,
and Anne says, repurposing stuff is one of my favorite hobbies.
Yeah.
My husband teases me about keeping out trash to play with.
Yeah. I keep all kinds of plastic containers and jars and whatnot. And like, do we really need all of this? Well, yeah, I use them, I keep jars because if I cook something like a duck or something that has a lot of fat, I don't want that fat going down my drain. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to have a jar that I can put it in. Well, duck fat, and then it goes in the refrigerator. Saving that duck fat. I don't do bacon, so,
No, I'm just saying, if you do that, it's also healthier for you, too.
Yeah.
Because it's natural fat, and it's not,
exactly.
Processed fat.
And does it taste good. But, so there's lots of ways now. Water. I have a big bucket about this round, about this tall, that I keep in my shower because I cannot get into a cold shower. I need to run the water to get it warm. So I put the bucket there, get it going while I'm doing whatever else I'm doing. And then we can use that water to water the plants outside. Very nice. I was saving my pasta water, like if I rinse rice or any kind of grain, if I rinse that, I use that soak water again to water. I have a bucket that any water that I'm recycling goes into my bucket, and we use it. Now, there is a caveat. You have to be careful because I was saving my pasta water for years. But I use salt in my pasta water. And it never even dawned on me. And fortunately or unfortunately, the tree that my husband was watering with the pasta water was a sour orange, which is salt and resistant, but it's not salt
Proof.
Proof. And after a few years, it's a very strange story about that tree to begin with. It got planted as a grapefruit tree, but when we had that great the problem with the citrus groves and they were taking everybody's backyard trees. I had 4 citrus trees. They took them all and they chopped them down and then they stumped them out. The grapefruit tree was in the front yard and they stumped it out and I go out and I look and I'm like, they did a really lousy job. And lo and behold, that tree grew and it started producing fruit. And at first I'm like, oh, we got lime. How did we get lime? And then they get a little bigger. No, it's oranges. How did we get? So no, it's lemons because then first they're green, then they turn yellow, and it's like, how do we get lemons? And I called up the agriculture extension. They said, we have this tree. I explained what it was. He goes, oh, they use sour orange as rootstock for all these trees that they sold for your home gardens. They all had sour orange rootstock because sour oranges are real hardy and tolerant. So that's what we grew. And sour oranges, and it's great for cooking. And I'd have people walk in the neighborhood, especially some of the islanders. It's like, is that a sour orange tree? Like, yes, help yourself because there's way more fruit than we could ever. And it's right there on the front lawn. Just go pick a few. Yeah. So that's.
It's like the orange grocery.
But eventually the tree did succumb. It got. I said to Steve, oh, I'm sure it's just old. And then then it dawned on me. We've been watering it with soft water.
That's just systematically poisoning it.
So, but as a caveat, just know what you're throwing out and where you're putting it. I could have thrown it other places where it would have been helpful to kill some.
Like your weeds.
Yeah. Oh, actually, weeds. I'm getting very pro weed. I've found I'm doing research. I mean, a lot of the plants that we call weeds, not only are they, some of them beautiful, they have beautiful flowers and whatnot, but they're nutritious, they're edible. A lot of weeds are edible and they have more nutritional value than the plants we grow for food. So dandelions. My mother used to take us when we were kids to the park and have us pick dandelions. And we'd come home and we'd have it in salads and whatnot. So, yeah, dandelions are real good. Love them. I'm not so crazy about dandelion wine, though. But anybody else have any recycling, repurposing?
Well, I shamedly drink a lot of Pepsi. And I realized I can use those containers to make grow pots, or even hydropods.
Absolutely.
You know what hydropods are? For hydroponic growing.
Right. Water. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. They're perfect. They're easy to work with. Now I buy kitty litter in the 35-gallon things. They're plastic. I save those. I use them for all kinds of things. But they make great planters. You have to punch holes in the bottom, but they make great planters for outdoor patio gardening and whatnot.
I imagine they also be very good as toys for the cats themselves. Just like as long as remember the one that with the handle, right? Yeah. Oh, you just open it up again.
Oh yes, open. Well,
jump in there.
Any box, any bag, and throw in some catnip and just watch. Be entertained for however long the catnip lasts.
Those containers, if they're disinfected, are great for filling with water during hurricane season.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Well, I say I have a platform bed, and it has a space in the middle, a little closet, and there's this tunnel. Well, there are gallon and 2 gallon jugs of water, bleach, all kinds of things that I save, and they go in there, and when the hurricane comes, they all come out. They all get filled. Now, that's not water I would use for drinking, but, you know, for watering and washing and flushing the toilet, and, you know, you can use it for other things than drinking, because I wouldn't consider it potable, but if you disinfect it, yeah, if you disinfect it, it can be. But
they, I sponsored Children Through Compassion, and they have actual filters where you can put really nasty, dirty water, and these filters actually filter out the sediment and the germs and all that stuff, and it actually comes out clean water. And I've actually drank it before, because I was like, it's either gonna kill me or it's gonna actually work. And if it says it works, then why should I be worried about it?
In the Peace Corps, I had one of those water filters that I used.
It was strong. It was cool.
Yeah, when you're in the Peace Corps, you go places where the water is
where you
not
questionable.
We were not even. We had to be taught to not even actually swallow any water if you were brushing our teeth.
Right. A lot of times they tell you don't even.
Your mouth was dry.
Yeah, they sometimes tell you don't even use it for brushing your teeth, depending on where it is.
Yeah.
Because
and learning to wash with only a very small amount of water, because it's not like here where there's developed water systems.
Right.
If it hasn't rained in a few days, the water barrel's going empty. You might only have a very small bucket to wash with.
You might not be washing for a day or two.
Yeah. So that's how I was glad my site had a river.
Yeah, that would be great.
I would imagine that the water was shared among the family in that case anyway, too.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you got a little bit of water for yourself, and it lasts for everybody.
The water that is left, if it's shared amongst your family, all their germs and all their whatever they had on there, they had, you know, say the dad went farming for a day and now they're all nice and stinky to use all that water. Okay, now it's your turn to take bath.
Yeah. Well, you know, my mom, only cold running water in the kitchen sink. They had a big tub that they would heat the water up, fill it up, and one at a time they took a bath. All the same water.
I mean,
you know, 4 people bathing in one tub of water.
Rainwater runoff.
That's, you know, the best.
Back then, you didn't bathe if you were bleeding. So, times were different then.
Yeah, back then didn't bathe at all because they viewed it as being clean was evil.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I grew up with her too.
All right, let's move this.
All right, so yeah. Okay, next slide. One of the ways that you can commune with nature, of course, is meditation and grounding. These help forge an even deeper and closer relationship. There's nothing that I find more relaxing, more peaceful than going outside and sitting on the grass, under a tree, and just having a little meditation, you know, and I'm a firm believer of grounding after you do any kind of spell work or ritual type of work. So that's just another way to really connect with Mother Nature. And as with everything, next slide, please. With just about everything, the most important thing is intention. Intention is how we direct the energies we use. So it's really, really important to be aware of your intentions, make sure your intentions are true to your goals. And that's about it. We are ready to do our little crafting. We're going to make a garden spell bag. And garden spell bags are often used for protection of property or specific places on your property, for fertility of the earth, not personal reproduction, but fertility of the earth, tranquility, aesthetics, whatever you want your garden, whatever intention you want or need for your garden, you would put in your spell bag. You use natural herbs and natural items that correspond with your intention of your garden. Garden spell bags are designed to be hung or buried in the outside and are meant to decompose and fall apart. So it's important that all of the elements that you use are natural. One caveat there again is, according to some of the information that I read, no metal. And if they want wood, herbs, plants, crystals, and objects like that. But for some reason, metal, because it'll rust, unless it's gold. You want to put gold in. I think Mother Nature would give you a buy for gold, but other than that, metals are generally not used in the garden spell bag. And so tonight we have bags for everyone. These are little muslin bags. You can decorate them if you want. I did this one. You can write your intentions on the outside if you like, or you could just leave it all natural. But you can, however you want, whatever you want to do with your garden spell bag. Just keep in mind what you want your garden to be and put those intentions in it. I have some items here. I brought herbs, and I have a list of the herbs that are here and what their attributes are, like bay leaves. Now, bay leaves have a lot of other things, but in the garden, they're used for protection and repelling bugs. You know, they're real good. Caraway seeds are great for protection from theft. Okay, why do we have to worry about that? Well, they have critters.
Some people will try and carry off your plants from your porch.
Oh, yeah.
And they will disappear one night and never be seen again.
That's right. Especially if they're potted, or people will steal your fruit from your trees.
Yeah.
But more importantly, wild animals
Wild
animals like to raid people's gardens. So caraway seeds will help with that. I have cascarilla powder, both white eggs and brown eggs, whatever you like, and that's for protection and for blessings and peace. I like my garden to be tranquil and peaceful, place of calm and retreat. So for me, that's going to work. Chamomile. Also for tranquility. Cinnamon for joy. I find most joy in the garden, so we're going to include that. Cloves are for protection. Eucalyptus for warding off evil, protection, and purification. Also will keep some bugs away too, repels some bugs. Lemon verbena for protection, purification, and success. We want our gardens to be successful. Mugwort for protection. Oregano for protection, happiness, and luck. Rosemary for protection, a lot of protection here. Sunflower seeds for fertility and aesthetics. There's nothing more beautiful than a sunflower in bloom. Soursop seeds for protection against parasites. Aphids, grubs, there's a lot of parasites in the garden. Soursop seeds are for protecting against that, and we have some lavender oil for tranquility as well. I also brought some quartz crystal pieces, and you're more than welcome to have those in your your bag, and I don't remember what that was for. It was just that.
That amplifies everything.
Yeah.
I was just thinking purification.
Yeah.
All clarity.
And yeah, so that was an afterthought because I was looking for what I was going to put in my bag, and I found this little bag of crystals. Bring this and share it. So there's everything's clearly marked. Almost. These are soursop marked. Oh, also, some of these seeds may grow. So aware, because as the bag decomposes, what's inside is going to fall in your garden. Mm-hmm. So be aware of what you're putting in your bag and where you're going to hang it. You may not want a soursop tree growing, in the middle of your garden, but that's that. And if you
why
use,
not?
I'm saying may not. It's a very large tree.
You can catch it before it gets too large.
Yes, but
I'll get more.
Also, if you're using something other than herbs and stuff that will decompose, like crystals, you can, when the bag is finally done or almost done, it gets to the point where it's like, this is about as decomposed as I can handle. Then you would want to take that bag, if it's not already buried, then you want to bury it. And whatever is inside, you want to bury it. If you're using a crystal or something that does not decompose, you can bury it, or you can take it, and you would want to, of course, cleanse it and purify it, and you can reuse it again for something else.
I was gonna say, for the burying, before you bury, would you hang that, by your garden, with a thumbtack or something like that?
Yeah, you can hang it. You can.
Would it decompose though?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you leave it out and it'll decompose.
Oh, I thought it was decompose with dirt.
No.
Because
these are all natural. If you put all natural fibers in and whatnot, this is Muslim, so it's a thin Muslim, so it won't last a whole long time.
Okay,
and traditionally, you usually make a small bag because you do want it to decompose, and they're not, as they start to decompose, they're not all that attractive. so keep that in mind too.
So I could say sometimes in my wall, I could hang it right here.
Outside.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If this was outside,
yeah, you could put it on your wall. You could hang it on a tree. You could bury it. Whatever your intention is.
Okay.
And you can.
I'm afraid of anything. So that would be good.
And as I said, you can write an intention or anything on the outside, or you can write it on paper and put it inside the bag, or just speak it to just give your intention.
Speak it to it.
And that's it. Now, if you're going to decorate your bag, I recommend ballpoint. If you use marker, then I would put something in between. Otherwise, you're going to have the same design front and back. But I found the ballpoint pen worked really good. So here we go. How about it?
Yay! Did I get some ballpoint pens for everybody?
I have a couple pens in my pocket.
I have some that I can't get them because they're.
And
oh yeah, you also got Kitty Corrales in there too.
I'm not moving anywhere. It would be okay.
Understandable. Right there with you.
I recommend what I intend to do is, as I'm picking what I'm putting in the bag, I will state my intention, why I'm taking this and what I want it to do. But you can make your bag however you want.
Do you have to say it out loud, or can you just?
No.
I think that'd be a whole lot of talk.
Most things are either marked or pretty visible what they are.
I'll say edible. Edible.
I'm gonna put mine inside. Wait, there we go.
We have pen. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Wow, that's a lot of rosemary.
Oh, that's all it. That's
Almost sounds like cinnamon.
Then, also tomorrow when everybody's out in the garden, here, we've got basil, cilantro, and rosemary that we can get out there. Wanna
You have the
take a
tomato.
little bit.
You have the
there's no tomatoes. There's the green pepper.